This is Rapid Regeneration. I'm Dave Escamilla. I'm not a medical doctor or medical professional. We're not making any claims about diseases or medical claims. Our guest today is a doctor of physical therapy, and he is someone that I've learned a lot from his information. And we're just really excited to talk to one of the special guests of Texas Fruit Festival, Dr. Sam Mielcarski. Dr. Sam, thanks for talking with us today.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's always a blessing to connect with the high vibe fruity tribe.
So, so Dr. Sam is somebody when you start to meet Dr. Sam and maybe you've done some of his workshops or you've read his books or you come across this information, you think, wow, this is someone who like he's got it all figured out. He makes this look easy and he's really like riding the momentum. But just so the listener understands, this has not always been an easy journey for you, and you went down this path because a series of circumstances that must have been very difficult for you physically and emotionally. And so, take us all the way back to, the late '90s. You were a professional athletic competitor, and then you started experiencing these health issues. What happened, and how did you get on this journey?
Yeah. So in 1998, I was competing in the Mr. Atlanta bodybuilding competition as a novice lightweight. And at that point, I wasn't into the lifestyle that I'm into now. So I had a high stress job. I was working as a clinician, as a physical therapist with a couple of medical doctors, and it was a pretty long commute each day. So I was trying to train for the show and commute back and forth each day. And I was eating a diet that I thought at the time was good, but I had limited knowledge in terms of what was really healthy. And so I ended up really sick. And basically, one day I got to the point after I competed, even though I looked great on stage that day, my insides weren't looking too good, which was evident in the weeks to come by all the symptoms that I developed. And I started getting pain in my groin area and my low back and pelvis. And then I ended up basically one day waking up, having to go to the bathroom really bad, went into the bathroom, and not a drop of urine came out when I tried to urinate. And I'm thinking to myself, if that's not coming out, then where is it going right now? And obviously, it was going back up inside of my kidneys, and it was very alarming. So I went to a doctor, and I told him what the problem was. And he looked at me. He goes, "Well, you're awfully young for these problems. I wouldn't worry about it." And I couldn't believe what I heard. I looked at him. I said, "Hey, doc, I didn't say I can't see right. I said I can't pee right. So what do you mean don't worry about it?" And he's like, "Well, you should be fine. And here, I'm just going to give you this antibiotic." I said, "Whoa, antibiotic for what?" And he's like, "Well, we're not. You definitely probably have prostatitis, which is inflammation, swelling in your prostate, and that's why you can't pee. We're not sure really what causes these things, but we think it's maybe a series or cluster of infections." And I'm thinking to myself, if you don't know what causes it, then I'm in the wrong office. So I looked at him and he handed me the paper and I just kind of crumpled it up, put it in my pocket. I was like, "All right, well, thanks." And he said, "Well, that's what I think you need." I said, "And I respect your opinion, but now I'm leaving." And so I left and I went home and thought about what I was told and went to another specialist. He was a urologist. And he said, "God, you're awfully young for these problems." And I'm thinking to myself, wow, what is with these guys with the whole age thing? I mean, health challenges can come at any age. And so at that time, I went home from that visit and I was really distraught because I'm thinking, man, I just want some help and I don't feel like I'm getting it. So I remember sitting down and just kind of putting my hands in a prayer position. I closed my eyes and the tears just actually started to come down slowly down my face because I was just so at that point at my wit's end. And I heard the voice. And this was one of those divine intervention moments where I actually heard the voice. And the voice said to me, "What difference does it make what it is if it's not going to make a difference how you treat it?" I was like, "Whoa, say that again." So I heard the voice again. "What difference does it make what this is if it's not going to make a difference how you treat it?" And I was like, "Well, what is that supposed to mean?" And then I heard it means that you need to change your diet, your lifestyle, and your mindset. And if you do that, you will heal. And not only will you heal, you'll know health at a level that you never knew possible. I'm like, wow, well, how am I going to do that? Like, don't worry about it. You will be sent the knowledge, people, resources, tools, everything you need that'll be sent to you. Just pay attention. You'll know whether it's right. I'm like, okay, anything else? And I heard, yes, you must promise to always give this back to other people. Because if you don't, the lessons are going to get harder. Do we have an understanding? I'm thinking to myself, yeah, okay. Yeah, we have a deal. And so call it what you want, Almighty above, guardian angel. But the voice was real, the experience was real, and then that was it. And so from that point on, there's no looking back. And so I just went on this path, and slowly but surely, just the resources came, the people came, and I did what I was told, and I healed. And yeah, I got to a level of vibrant health that I'm still maintaining now, and it's this many years later, and I've always promised to give back because I have to tell you, I don't want to find out what happens if I don't. I've had kind of hints of it along the way where I just was kind of lagging a little bit and how much I was giving back, I think, to the world. And Spirit said, oh, okay, remember the talk we had? Okay, well, let me just give you a hint at what might happen. Like, oh, whoa, whoa. So I just kind of felt this presence again that was like gonna basically deal me a lesson that I probably didn't want. So I've stayed on course, and I continue to, and now it's just it's definitely a committed journey for sure. So that's how it all began.
Wow. So we're talking with Dr. Sam. So is that one of the reasons why you are out there so much, helping people so much? Is you actually brokered a deal with these kind of divine forces, that if you could solve your problems and get out of that situation, that you would do this?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. It's like instead of selling your soul to the devil, like I gave my soul to the Almighty Guardian Angels and God above. Yeah, so I went to that other path, and
Wow.
that's it. And it's a journey, and it's a process, and I'm continuing to enjoy it. And yeah, that's it.
I have a similar experience because when I was really sick, I basically said a little prayer and said, God, if you just if you help me, I'll do whatever you want. I would basically do anything, right, to get out of that feeling where you feel bad and you feel like you're out of control and you're just sick so that's such a beautiful thing. Do you think so? You said that this voice spoke to you and t told you basically what the answer was. Do you think that this voice is available to anybody, or how do they tap into it?
I do. I think it is available. I think that you have to be ready to receive it, though, and you could have many wake up calls in your life, but when you're truly ready to receive it, I think it'll be there, especially if you ask, and it's heartfelt. It can't be fake. It's just like when people try to manifest things, and I go, "Oh, can I just win this or that?" It's not how the universal principles really work. It has to be genuine, and it has to be such a level of almost despair, even at a level that your heart is so wide open. And every time that I've been gifted things in my life, it's always because of those reasons where it's truly a genuine thing that's going to happen. But yeah, I think people can tap into it because it is something that the universe, that energy is there for people, and consciousness wants to experience itself, no matter what kind of vibe it is. And so you can tap into the high vibe and the healthy vibe, and the consciousness wants to express itself that way. And you could be a beacon of light and a health raiser, as I like to say, in the world on that level. You have to choose. You have to choose to, though. It is a choice.
Okay, okay, and wow. So and you also said that when this happened, before the voice spoke to you, you went to your home and you went into this place of quietude, where you kind of opened up and you stopped all the inputs. Explain to the listener, what does that mean? What does it mean for them to go into this place of quietude to receive these answers?
Yeah, I think the best answers come when we're really quiet. It doesn't mean we can't learn life lessons or have insights in the middle of chaos, but to truly hear the voice, there has to be no static in the channel, so to speak. And so you have to get very clear, and otherwise the voice won't be there. It's really interesting because the body itself is a sacred vessel, and people have heard that maybe at some point. It sounds all woo woo, but it really isn't. When you think about even anatomy, and I'm a huge fan of anatomy, being a doctor of physical therapy, anatomy is something I love in mine. What are these? What is this area called right here on people's sides of their head? The temples.
Hmm.
So you go into the temple, and again, in the structure here, the third eye, the all-seeing eye. is that eye that's literally in the brain, the one that looks inside. When you're trying to understand instead of understand, you're looking inward, you're turning your energy inward. It's this eye that you're gonna get the insight through. And interesting enough, even in the back of the head, there's a structure called the arbor vitae in the brainstem, and that anyone that knows Latin would be able to go, whoa, right now, because that means what? Tree of
The
life.
tree of life. Wow.
So all this time you hear these things, the temples, the tree of life, the search of knowledge, it's within us. So the wisdom of the ages and the sages tells us, the answers within, and what you're looking for, the resources are within you. Yeah, that energy truly is, and the body truly is sacred. And when you take care of the vessel and you learn to pray in it and meditate in it, magical things will happen.
Okay, so I think probably the people that are listening to this, um, they've had a similar experience where they've gone through this awakening. They start to go through this down this rabbit hole, and they start to see the reality in a different way. And so, what happened to you? And then what happened? What did you start doing? And then did the issues with the prostate, the inflammation, the bladder, the lower abdominal, all these things that you were experiencing, did these go away or what happened next?
Yeah, they definitely went away, and it took some time. Yeah, there's some other things too I didn't mention. I mean, just like a lot of even I guess you'd call them polyps or bumps. It could have even been cancer. I don't make that claim because I never had an official diagnosis, but they were palpable bumps, across the whole front of my bladder and in my left groin region, and it was just really an interesting time. And yeah, I had really had to hit rock bottom because at that point the spiral was going downward and not upward. So I'm sinking and really became a recluse, and withdrew from society and all that. I really had to go within. But yeah, so then the answers started to come. Like people started to show up. I actually had a brother that was in chiropractic school at the time, and he mentioned to me something. He said, "Hey, I have this teacher who you might want to talk to." I said, "I don't want to see a chiropractor. I mean, nothing against it. I just don't think that's going to help me." He said, "No, he doesn't do traditional chiropractic where he adjusts anyone. He's into this thing called natural hygiene." I'm like, "Well, what's that?" He said, "It's basically living in harmony with nature, like the laws and rules of nature." And he said, the people, the hygienists really like looked at animals and how they kind of live in their own eco niche and cooperate with nature. And he said humans should really do the same thing. And so there's really if you follow these rules, then vibrant health should be the end result. So I did go and meet with him, and he did help me kind of see the bigger picture of health. He ran some tests on me, and that's the first time I ever fasted too, and I was under his supervision, so I did it for several days, and it was a modified fast. It was water only for a little bit, but then he said, "Look, if you need to work, then I have to put you on something for some kind of caloric density because true fasting you really should withdraw. And if you can't completely do that from work, then let me just give you this." He said, "Don't be duped by the name. I think it was called Ultra Clear or something, if my memory serves me right." But he said it's just something that has some base nutrition in it. It's not really cleansing you per se. The body does that really when given the right things, but this will help you. So the fasting definitely worked. I mean, that definitely allowed me to feel much better very quickly. I mean, that's why it's called a fast. So it's a joke. It happens fast, right? So it's that was a first initial good step. It's just being aware of, because that gave me hope. And the other thing that I would put out there for anyone on a journey, and even if you're still on it, keep a journal, because if I didn't journal how I was doing and how I was feeling, I wouldn't have probably thought I was making progress and getting better, and then I
Mm.
probably would have given up and quit. Because when you have a lot going on, you're so consumed by it that when some of it starts to go away, you don't even realize it. But then when you start to read the journal and go, whoa, like my energy level is now this, or now it doesn't hurt, every time I go to the bathroom, or now, I have more energy all day long and I'm not crashing by, 2 p.m. or something. So that journaling is really important. And that's just part of a spiritual journey anyway, a little bit of introspection, reflection, and contemplation. The ancients, the Stoics, they did this so well. And not to say they weren't distracted. Maybe they were distracted by the abacus or the compass. I'm making a joke. Like whatever technology they have. Then again, maybe they were more advanced technology. I'm open to that. Like, I definitely think there's probably more advanced civilizations probably prior to us. I don't think we're this linear evolution, but it's a conversation for another day. But we, they definitely seem to spend time in contemplation. And it's like, how do we know that? Well, they wrote about it. They wrote about how important that was, and spending time and in quietude and reflecting, and just quiet time in nature. Just close your eyes and just be there still. The stillness is where I think the answers are easiest to come because there's not static in the channel.
Wow, wow. Yes, we're gonna have to do a whole another episode about lost ancient civilizations, so and just to clarify, when you were doing this, first it started off you were just drinking water, and then you added in uh, kind of this base level, like maybe it's a powder, or but how long was this total that you went through this phase of working through this program?
Yeah, so when I worked with him, it was probably just for a week or two, and then he empowered me with, "Hey, here's what I recommend for diet," which was a plant-based diet, and he was really into raw food at that time. I believe he was either fully raw or really high raw diet, but he's like plant-based is the way that I would go, and this is what I'd recommend. So I'm like, okay, well, how do I do that? And he gave me some guidelines. So yeah, so to continue that story,
Hmm.
um, so I can fully answer your question. So then I started to explore the whole diet thing. Said, okay, well, I am feeling better. So, what's available in the plant world? Then I just started. I like fruits and vegetables anyway, but I never thought like, hey, these could be the bulk of my diet because a lot of us didn't grow up thinking that. So I started to eat more of them, and then I started feeling better. And I'm like, okay, well, let me look at these other foods. And nuts and seeds and sprouts and legumes and tubers and herbs and grasses and grains and all these things. And I'm like, okay, wow, these foods are nourishing me. So I didn't go raw food right away, but I did transition slowly. I actually went vegetarian for a little while, and so I still had some animal products in my diet. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go vegan. And that whole time was probably 98 to into 99. So it was a whole year of transitioning slowly. But the transition happened probably after several months going vegetarian to vegan, and then I just started making healthier choices amongst what was available. So healthier versions of even like pizza that was vegan or French fries that weren't had a bunch of junk in them, and then I just transitioned off those foods, always respecting my body, always respecting the journey. Like, is this nourishing me right now? On any level, mind, body, or spirit. And over time, the choices were easy because I just didn't feel whole anymore eating those foods. So I'm like, okay, you're gonna have to just keep upgrading your diet and lifestyle. So I did that, slowly over about a year, and then in '99, I actually was like intrigued by more raw food stuff. So I put it out there, like, well, how could I connect with people in the raw food world? So we talk about like serendipity and manifestation. All of a sudden, I see this support group in my hometown. And I'm like, what are the chances of that? This isn't even that popular. It's in Roswell, Georgia. So I go to the first meeting, and I walk in, and this curly-headed, jolly guy walks up to me, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Don Bennett." And I'm the health and fitness director of this place. At the time it was called Shinui. And I'm like, "Hey, Don, nice to meet you." So Don, I believe, is coming to the festival. He's a good friend of mine. He was one of the first people I met on the journey. And I said, "Look, I'm open to this. Um, Give me some guidance to where to start." And he said, "Yeah, okay." And he just gave me a couple resources to start to look at in terms of reading and all that. And then I got talking to him, and so I started going back to the meetings because it's a support group. So and when you're starting out with anything, sport's great. Even when you've been on the path for a while, it's great to have loving sport. So we're sitting in a circle, everyone's sharing struggles and triumphs and what it takes and like why raw food and why plant based. And so that was a pivotal piece because then I found some community.
Okay.
And then outside of that, it was just I started looking at the other aspects of health. I got into things like rebounding and weightlifting was something I was already into, but I returned back to it with a whole different mindset. So instead of bodybuilding, it was bodily building. So instead of just trying to like pack muscle back on it, I looked at like, okay, let me truly look at how my body's built and let me work out in a way that will build health as opposed to just trying to just build muscle. And so that was a pivotal piece. Then
Okay.
looking at how much time I really was spending in nature. And I love nature. I loved it as a kid. But then when I really looked at it, yeah, you can love nature, but are you spending time in nature? And if you're not, then ultimately, it's one of those things that you're not really doing it, even though that you know it. You know what I'm saying? So there's a big difference in knowledge and wisdom. Like knowledge is knowing and wisdom is doing. So you can know it all day, but if you're not doing it, and that's where journaling helped me too, where I really looked at how many hours are you actually spending outside, versus how long do you think you're spending outside? Because it's a great awareness tool. And then you realize like, wow, as much as I like being out there, I'm not really spending time out there. Well, then it's not going to help because you actually have to be connected to the planet, and that's when I really tapped into being into the whole barefoot thing and getting earthed and grounded and really just communing with nature every day. So that was a pivotal thing
Wow,
for me.
wow. So you were part of this support group, and Don Bennett was involved, and Don Bennett is someone else who's going to be at Texas Fruit Festival, as well as Dr. Sam will be there. But you talk about this thing called the other vitamin C, right? Which is not ascorbic acid or sodium ascorbate, the nutrient, the vitamin, but community vitamin C. And so some people, it seems like there's a few people out there who can, they're like eagles. They can fly alone, and they can really go on this path solo. But it seems like most people, if they don't have some kind of support mechanism, some kind of community, some kind of group reinforcement, they really struggle and kind of fall off. And so, how important is it, for most people to have community in order for them to be, healthier and on all that? And then what does that look like today, in 2025 compared with, 2005 when you were, or rather early 2000s when you were getting into this, and how should someone approach this?
Yeah, I think at times, unfortunately, what it looks like today is this. I wish people would put their devices down, but I love to be cynical. No, I think actually
Yeah.
it's easier today because of the technology. And technology is a bad thing. I think it's people are very binary with their viewpoints. Like it's good, it's bad. It's what you want it to be. Like you could take a pencil and create art or poetry with it, all right, or you could stab someone with it and injure them really bad, or possibly even take their life. So is the pencil good or bad? It depends on how it's used. So with technology, it's the same way. I mean, we're connecting right now through means, and now we can reach so many other people as opposed to just you and I having a conversation. Or a conversation can touch so many people and possibly transform their lives. So I think it's easier now in many ways because community is huge compared to what it was when I started. I mean, you had to really pray and hope that you could find a group and didn't have to travel many miles to get there. And now it's really everywhere if you want to find it because all you have to do is search terms. I mean, you could do a search on meetup.com for any group as you kind of know what you're looking for in your area, probably most likely to find it. And then, of course, on different social media platforms or just connecting with people in the community and then reconnecting with them online. So I think it's a lot easier now. I think the communities are bigger. I think the communities are more open. I think people are more transparent because I think there's just been this consciousness shift overall where there's an awakening happening in humanity. And so I think people are willing to give more of themselves and be a bit more transparent and vulnerable, where they're just like, hey, look, you're not going to get it right every first time, or hey, this is a struggle I went through too. And people are so willing to help each other. And that's the thing that's magical about the festivals, especially when you go to a festival or retreat, but the festivals, especially, you got hundreds of people there that are on this journey that are either far along or just getting started or somewhere in the middle, and everyone has something valuable to offer. And you always seem to, again, if you go to these places, attract what you need. So
Hmm.
if like you're just getting started, people get overwhelmed, like, I don't think I should go because I'm a newbie. It's like, no, come. You should come because trust me, there's other newbies going to be there. You're not going to be alone on that. And even if you're new, it's not like people shun you. And go, oh, you're just getting started. Well, I don't have time for you. To them, I love talking to newbies. I'm like, all right, well, how's it going for you? Like, what got you started, or what was your challenge? And I think it's exciting for that aspect. But yeah, you always seem to attract these people you need at these festivals. Like, and so many friendships have been made. I have friends that I've made at festivals and still people that I connect with and so many other people have. I look at Woodstock. I mean, people got married there. We had a couple of weddings over the years. Talk about connection. People came back, got married at the festivals, and then you just have uh, people that end up reconnecting, several years later at a retreat, or they move to the same city that the person's in, and now they live near another person. So I think it's a lot easier now, and it's exciting that it is.
Wow, we're talking with Dr. Sam Mielcarski. Um, Dr. Sam, you can find all of his work. He's got a lot of free resources, free ebook free master course. Um, you can find that at drsampt.com, or you can follow Dr. Sam on Instagram at drsampt3. That's the number three. Um, and you can come meet Dr. Sam at Texas Fruit Festival. He's going to be a special guest there, texasfruitfestival.com. So you're talking about this process where you transitioned into a more vegetarian diet and then to vegan. And this was around 98, 99, and you started to get into raw foods. That was a long time ago. And so tell us about, are you following this kind of raw food diet, and what's your secret to longevity, and why are you still it up, or tell us about, how that's evolved over time.
Yeah, sure. So once I got into the raw food and then it became a higher percentage, eventually I was like, well, let me run the experiment where I go 100%. I'm a big fan of being 100% happy and healthy, and that's what I would tell anyone, including private, patients and clients. So if 100% raw doesn't do that for you, don't do it. Figure out what split does, whether it's a 90-10, 80-20, 70-30, 60-40, 50-50, but you have to do what makes you tick. And so, yes, currently I am, still on this path, and I'm eating a 100% raw food diet. It does make me tick. I did, be very transparent. I ran some experiments along the way, meaning like, hey, am I missing anything? They weren't long experiments. It's like, but I might have tried, it wasn't animal products, but just tried, let me try some cooked food here or there. And, am I missing something in my diet? And the experiments were worth running. I didn't berate myself for doing it. I didn't look at it as a failure. I mean, that's the only way to know whether you're, what's right for you. And it's funny when people say, hey, you're still raw. A lot of times my answer is, well, I am today. Like I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I'm very open, but I don't vacillate. I'm not one of those people you meet, like you meet him one festival, he's doing this. You meet him, now he's doing this. It's like, I'm pretty consistent. Anyone that knows me well, I'm pretty consistent and stay the course. It's just, but I'm also very transparent. It's probably a Leo pride thing. I don't want to BS anyone or tell anyone like I've never eaten cooked food in 20 years. No, that's not true. I have, but it wasn't like for months on end or years on end. It's just like, hey, my system got out of balance, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I'm off here. In hindsight, like some of that was probably because other aspects of my life were out of balance. And so maybe I ran into some nutritional challenges, but it wasn't necessarily the diet per se, as maybe some other things. I can't say I felt bad like eating those foods, but I definitely feel better with raw living foods. So yeah, I'm a big fan of still advocating it. I think that if it works for you, do it. If it doesn't, but it partially works for you, then do the part that works for you, and then figure out what other percentage you need to make your diet and lifestyle work. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of raw foods. I always say if you want to feel whole, natural, and alive, it makes sense to eat whole, natural, and living foods. Live food, live cells; dead food, dead cells. So you you have to feed your body. What it was designed to run on, and I think we also need to get away from some of the traditional nutritional philosophies and dogma about just carbohydrates, fats, and protein, and realize that food is a form of consciousness in a sense, and these foods that carry light the best, I think are the ones that are going to feed us the best. Like the word human, like hue is a being of light, right? And it would make sense that you are what you eat per se. That we have to eat light, and these foods are basically step down transformers of light. They capture the light. That's why the colors even come through them,
Hmm.
and they just feed the body, which, as we know, is electromagnetic, and it's just beyond just those nutrients. It's information, it's consciousness, and it's also electricity. I mean, it's truly energy that's going in us.
So you're talking about a lot of benefits, some of which are physiological, right? And you're a student of anatomy, doctor of physical therapy, so you're looking at the anatomical benefits of raw foods, but you're also getting deep here, and talking about the spiritual elevation that comes from eating this way. So did eating this way make you more spiritual, more of a seeker in this way?
Yeah, I believe it did, because when I got out of school, I didn't waste a lot of time studying things that I thought were going to advance my career and myself as a person. But the timing of it all was just very divine because right when the raw food stuff hit, so did my interest, and it probably was a result of just becoming awakened, as you're alluding to. So as you wake up, you go, well, what else is out there? And so then the journey was like, hey, I started to look at energy overall and things like qigong and reiki and meditation and it was all just one of these happenings where it was an evolution that and an involution where it just happened. But once it happens, you realize that you have to feed your spirit and your mind and your body, right, and your heart. So you can't just always feed your spirit the same thing you would feed your body. I think the foods open the spiritual body up because the body itself is a temple for it's a vehicle for the spirit, right? So we're walking around this physical flesh, but really we're just, in a sense, in the quantum world, vibrating energy
Yes, flesh
down to
suit.
down to a density that we can see and perceive it. But the body being this sacred temple, if you feed it the right things, you turn it into this cosmic, conduit of energy, and then therefore you can truly, download things. And I think that's another way to gain a lot of knowledge quickly. Is there really was there's a professor at MIT, I don't remember her name, but she actually taught about how the brain actually does download. Like consciousness is not something you store in your mind. The brain is actually a download receiver. Now,
Hmm.
the ancients already talked about this, and people think it's woo woo, but science is actually backing. There's neuroscience backing spiritual, metaphysical, beliefs now, and
It's like an
it just
antenna.
so, yeah, it's a kind of like a cosmic antenna, and also just a literally it was like a receiver. Think
Yes.
about like what's in when you look at what's in computers, even basic parts like quartz crystal. And then when you look at the human body, we have this hydroxyapatite that makes up our bones, which is what? Quartz crystal. The
Hmm.
fascia is a triple helix structure, the collagen inside the connective tissue called fascia, which is a this living web, is a triple helix structure, which for sure I'm sure acts like an antenna, and it receives information, and but it can only do that if it's healthy, right? Like if you have this crystal lattice structure, just like a crystal in nature, if it's healthy, it's strong, but if it's not and it's brittle, it'll just break, and it won't carry a lot of information. It can't transmit either. So the human body is the same way. So that's why I think like once people start to wake up, because you truly are programming yourself with these foods that not only are energy and light, but even built in the sacred geometry of nature. The infamous golden section, golden proportion, phi ratio, whatever you want to call it. The foods are built there. So is the human body, and it's really cool. I actually have a pair of golden mean calipers, they're called. And basically it looks like almost like a scribe. Um, and, and you can like literally see this, dimension in the body where so the golden section, the golden phi ratio says the small part is to the big part is the big part is to the whole thing. So if I stuck that scribe on my finger, you would see it line up perfectly like that. If you put it on your face, you would see it lined up like that. Well, what I noticed is people who really live healthier lifestyles and align with this lifestyle truly have more aesthetically pleasing body structure, and even in their face and in their body. And I know a lot of people, and I'm sure you've seen it too, even online. Look at these pre and post transformations of people. You're like,
Yeah.
that cannot be the same person. You look like here they were here and they went on this lifestyle, and you're like, whoa, like that cannot be the same girl or the same guy. That's crazy. Like you just see it. You see the
Yes. You
transformation.
get this like glow. This person starts to have like a glow about them and they start to vibrate.
Yeah. And they just look different. I mean, they're like, wow, did they do anything cosmetically? Like, did they get any work done? And, I met people, I asked them, I'm like, hey, I just have to ask you, just on this journey, did you do anything? I'm just curious. They're like, no. Like, a lot of people are like, no, I never had to. That's just my skin changed and my body tone changed. I'm like, wow, that's really awesome. And yeah, it is a spiritual thing too, and the foods truly are this, tool, one of the tools in the toolbox to enlighten us, literally like that the foods carry light. So if you want to be light, you have to be the light. You have to eat light to shine bright, right?
So if I cook food or if I let's say if I get some meat and I cook the meat and I eat it, does it not have this ratio, this phi geometry to it in the way that an unprocessed food has in your view?
Yeah, I think the more you process something and you denature it, the less likely that's going to be. And when you take something that nature created and you're going to process it with your mouth, but at that point, that is what nature designed us to do. And I don't think it's the end of the world if maybe if you're doing smoothies or you blend things and even when you prepare food a certain way. But I think the less we process it, the better. I really feel that way. I mean, I run experiments where what's the difference between eating six bananas and blending six bananas? I mean, there is a difference.
Hmm.
One, if you blend them, you need to slow way down consuming it because you would never eat that fast. And it always pains me to watch somebody make an awesome video with like juicing or a smoothie, and then they sit there and chug it on camera. You're like, no, no, like, like that's like that part's just as important as the food. Like
Okay.
how you eat is just as important as what you eat.
I have
Right?
this problem. I have this problem. So I need to listen to you on this part because I drink a smoothie fast, and I wonder about this, right? Because so why is this why is this so important?
Well, 'cause one of the things is I think always looking at the bigger picture of stuff. There's a difference between diet and nutrition. So diet is just simply what you consume. So if we consume raw and living foods, then we're on a raw and living foods diet. If someone consumes corn chips and lettuce, then that's the diet they're on. But bottom line is nutrition is the sum total processes of ingestion, digestion, assimilation, and elimination. So you can be on the best diet in the world and still have malnourishment or poor nourishment or not optimal nourishment, or however you want to label it. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's why it
Right.
matters. So even if you take something really healthy,
The
but you don't,
assimilation of it.
yes, you're
Hmm.
not assimilating it because when people say you are what you eat, it's like no, we're really what we assimilate because you can eat a lot of things. And I go through this all the time with people with even with water, which we could talk about that too because I think it's an important topic if you want. But the
You talk
analogy,
about drinking. You talk about drinking it slowly as well. Water.
yeah. Let's circle back to that. So if you pour, yeah, this will be perfect tie-in. If you pour water on a plant, like I've planted in the background back there, a couple trees I just acquired this year on the deck. If I go over there and water those plants really quickly, and the water just gushes through it, it'll just pour out of the bottom of that pot. And then I'm like, I wonder why this thing's not doing well. I water it all the time. Yeah, you flooded it, but basically, did the
Hmm.
plant have time to assimilate the water? No, that's why it ran through the root system and went right through us. So, right through it. And the same thing can happen to us. I have patients all the time that drink tons of water and a couple things on that. So first, yes, no matter what we eat and drink, it should be done mindfully and with presence. And you want to literally, there's an old expression, chew your drink and drink your food. Chew your drink and drink your. So you want to, even if you're consuming water, you want to mix that with your essence. So like your saliva, your enzymes, your consciousness. Like it should stay in your mouth for a while before you swallow it. That's why a lot of times when people walk up to me and I just took a sip, I'm going, hang on, and and then I swallow. I go, okay. I said I didn't want to, have to spit that out or choke on it trying to swallow it too quick. Uh, but that's one aspect. Yeah, you want to do it very slowly so that it literally becomes part of you before you swallow it. Your mouth is the gatekeeper of your whole alimentary canal. So anything you consume, and there's a reason for that. We have enzymes in our saliva. We have like blood cells in our saliva. So these things are there to protect us. So that's why if you truly were tuning in like other species
Hmm.
do, you really shouldn't get food poisoning. It's another reason to be careful with making smoothies. Just I would check whatever it is you're putting in there before you put it in there. So let's say you didn't check some, you just throw it in, it had a bunch of mold in it or something. You would have picked that up in your mouth.
Yeah.
If right, you would have been like, "Oh God, it tastes bad." Like we've all done it. You just maybe you didn't look at the date careful enough, and then you're like, you pull it out, and there's all this blue mold, and you're like, "Oh." So yeah, if you're eating dates, definitely, especially with the pits, yeah, definitely take them out. Obviously, don't crack your teeth on the pit, but even if they have pits taken out, yeah, you should crack those open. Same thing with figs, because yeah, you might find any fruit for that matter, but you want to inspect things, but your mouth would have given you that warning signal. Plus, the enzymes in your mouth actually signal to the rest of your digestive tract, "Here's what's coming." Like it's that, and it's quick. I mean, that's how your body is so intelligent. If it's awake, and it will tell the rest of your body, "Here's what's coming." So these are the digestive, things you need to secrete. You know,
Right. Okay.
yeah. And then the other side of water, I think is worth mentioning, is for some reason we got into this as a society people should consume X amount of ounces a day. And there's formulas out there, half your body in ounces or whatever. So if you weigh 150 pounds, it'd be 75 ounces. Yeah, I understand people want guidelines. So this would be mine. If you, most people, depending on their lifestyle, let's say you're going to lose up to 1 to 2 liters or quarts a day per sweating, elimination, going to the bathroom, and breathing. Just respiration. Um, you would want to replace at least that amount, but that doesn't mean you necessarily have to drink 2 quarts or 2 liters of water a day. I see people these huge, like they're like an iron tank. These cups, they weigh a ton. Some companies making a mint off them, but now everyone's chugging all this water, and they're probably overtaxing their kidneys and diluting their electrolytes down to where they're actually becoming dehydrated at that point. The original recommendation was just amount of fluid consumed. It had nothing to do with just strict water. So now this diet that we're espousing to be wonderful, think about it. A lot of it's high water content based food. So you're going to get most of your water from a raw living foods diet if you choose to consume that. That's the beauty of that. That said, I do still drink water. I just don't sit there and gulp it all day long. I mean, I from time to time, especially if I have to speak or I'm working with patients or I'm exercising, I'm breathing more. I'm not going to sit there and just drink coconut or just eat some juicy fruit to get all my hydration. Sometimes water is necessary. But we went from this is what we should consume in ounces to this is what we're supposed to consume with water and food to now this is what we're supposed to consume with just water. And I don't know who started that, but it's like the only justification that I could make, slight justification of that would be if you're going to only eat cooked food that's dehydrated and dead, yeah, you might need to consume more water because you've cooked most of the water out of it. But yeah, so it's all relative on the spectrum, right?
Okay. Okay. So, t talk to us about, I want to hear from you, Dr. Sam Mielcarski, about, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Gypsums. About, your message at Texas Fruit Festival, because you're going to be talking about people elevating, right, not just in terms of their health, not just in terms of their physical unit, but yourself as a person, as an individual, as a spiritual being, to elevate to this higher version of yourself. How do you describe that, and what are you going to be talking about? What's this message that you're bringing to Texas Fruit Festival in September in Austin, Texas?
Yeah, the main core message is how to show up, be a health raiser in the world. And I think one thing I could say right up front would be the message is very clear in the lyrics of the song that I wrote several years ago, which is called the Health Raiser Song. And you can get that free download on my website, or if you go to YouTube, you can look up the official video. And it talks about what the journey of a health raiser is. So by definition, a health raiser is somebody who wants to raise the level of love on this planet by raising their own level of health and helping other people do the same. And when you look at the word love, if you make it an acronym, LOVE, it's your level of vital energy. Right? And it's really interesting because it's like the more love that we have in our heart and our beingness, it's like the more energy we're going to have. It's like we really are vibrating like at that frequency or above. And if you take the word love and you spin it around, then it spells evil, EVOL. So that's not how to spell evil. It was. That's actually a primitive way of spelling the word evil, EVOL. So I said, fine, okay, it's not, then do live. Like you're live or evil, LIVE, whatever works for you. But I think it's really all about the love, not really about the live. Because you when you show up in the world and you come from a loving, heart-centered place, that's where the magic I think really happens, and that's where I think you really start to live the quote raw lifestyle. You realize in the beginning, yeah, food's fun, and you get obsessed with mangoes or dates or durian or jackfruit. That's all part of the journey. But then when you start showing up, you realize like one of the main nutrients in your life is just having love in your life and this level of vital energy that sustains it, being of loving service to others. So the core message is going to be, how to show up in the world and why that's important and to be that person and how to do it.
Wow, this is actually great motivation for people and inspiration, because somebody just being healthy is not enough motivation for somebody, right? Of like, oh, hey, just be healthy so that you can have a long, healthy life. How about like, people like sometimes you need to really be pulled into doing something out of like this obligation or this calling or this duty or this inspiration. And so to fulfill that, right, being healthy, making yourself as healthy as possible is what you have to do to get there. And so it's the message that I think people need right now in this pivotal time that we're in. And I appreciate you, Dr. Sam, for delivering that and being a part of Texas Fruit Festival. What are you what are you looking forward to about coming and being a part of Texas Fruit Festival?
Definitely the hugs. I have something that I created many years ago. It's called a hug prescription card. So it's like a drug prescription card, but it's a hug prescription card. And so what it says on it is 3 hugs a day keep ill health away. And then on the other side, it has name of the person and time. So you write down who hugs you, what time they hugged you at. So 3 is a minimum. I mean, at the festivals, gosh, in a day, you're going to get 20, 30, 40 hugs. It's amazing. How much. I mean, 3 is a minimum, but I mean, even that, it'll make you feel better. So that's a wonderful thing. It's all the hugs, all the love that exists, and that's truly the essence of some of the connections that are made there. But the connection to me is probably the most important, and just being in that energy because I can eat fruit at home. I can eat fruit anywhere. It's and it's fun, and I do it. I'll do it out later here in my backyard, and I'll be connected to source, and I'll have a smile on my face still. But it's a lot more enjoyable doing it with 200 other people. you know, just
Yeah.
everybody at that level and vibing and just making those connections and meeting other people. I'm a people person. Like I love to connect with people, and I love to continue to learn. I'm a lifelong student, so I love to go to classes and or sit in someone else's talk and be like, wow, that was profound, or I'm taking notes, going, yeah, okay, I could I could be working on that myself, and so those types of things definitely excite me. And I've never been to Austin either. I've always wanted to visit, so I was like, wow, what a cool opportunity to go to Austin. What a great reason to go.
Wow. Well, we're super excited to have Dr. Sam at Texas Fruit Festival, which is in September 26th through the 28th in Austin, Texas, texasfruitfestival.com. Something else I wanted to make sure I asked you about, Dr. Sam, is about breathing, because this is something that Dr. Sam is known for, right? I went to Woodstock Fruit Festival. They're like, oh yeah, he's the breath guy, Dr. Sam. And so you talk about not just like doing breath work. People now it's very trendy actually, where people do these like breath work sessions, but just throughout the whole day, throughout our whole lives, is breathing better as a routine. You talk about when we're at a red light in our car, checking in with how we're breathing. Um, but you also do these intense, 45 to 90-minute breathwork sessions. So, but to the listener, what can the average person learn about how they're breathing? Why is it important? And how can we improve that to where we're continuously breathing better, throughout the day?
Yeah, it's vitally important to overall health. And at this point, I'd say if there ever was a holy grail, it's probably that. I just see how it's connected to every aspect of health, mind, body, spirit, and it's something that's so profound, but it's elusive at the same time. Meaning, people make the assumption, I think, Dave, that I must be doing it right. I'm alive. Well, there's a difference between breathing and breathing well. And there's really a difference between breathing and respiration. Like you could say, well, respiration is a brainstem mediated thing anyway. Like, thank God we don't have to think about every breath. Because you just see people probably trip up and down left and right. Uh, but with respiration, that's going to happen. Like your brainstem has a respiratory center in it, and it's going to make sure that you stay alive. But that's a little bit different than actual breathing. Breathing is more of a conscious act. And so that said, I think one key strategy I could give you right up front is use your phone to actually be a smartphone, meaning you could set a timer once an hour to go off. And whatever you use as a tone, make sure that it's something that makes you smile or laugh or something that's pleasant. Because this is gonna be known as your breathing bell. The last thing you want is some annoying sound that goes off on your phone and you're like, gosh, breathing bell. And you're annoyed by it because it's not the relationship you want with your breath. Breath is very sacred. And so when the bell goes off, it reminds you, oh, I need to stop right now what I'm doing. And shut the alarm off and stop what you're doing and take like 5 or 6 conscious breaths and then move on with your day. And the purpose of that, it's a pattern interrupt. So if you're up for 8, 10 waking hours, now 8 or 10 times a day, you have tripped that cycle of being caught up in the matrix or the stress cycle where you keep bringing yourself back to center and back to source, which when you connect to your breath, you'll do that automatically. I mean, I've had so many people, I just teach them how to breathe. And they said, wow, that's the first time I think I've ever meditated in my life. And I said, probably. I mean, that's the beauty. If you really connect to your breath and you're just focused on that, you really can't be thinking about anything else because you're thinking about your breath and that sole thing. And all of a sudden your brain waves change and you start getting into more of a slower brain wave, and all of a sudden you just start meditating automatically. It's really magical. But this tool, this breathing bell, is just meant to be a quick hitting, give me the quick fix, Dr. Sam. Well, this is one of them. Always return to your breath. I mean, ideally, Dave, this should be all of us. This should be our default. The first question we should ask ourselves is, how am I breathing right now? So when we get tweaked during the day, and it's going to happen to all of us, somebody's going to do something, or something's going to happen, and how we respond to it obviously is the key. But whenever we feel off, mind, body, or spirit, the first default we should go to is, where's my breath right now? How am I breathing right now? And because most of the time we're not, we're either holding our breath because we're stressed about something, you're trying not to, lose your composure, or you are just so unaware of it that you are breathing, but it's very chaotic. Every emotional correlate has a breathing correlate to it. So I can watch how someone's breathing and tell how they're probably feeling, without even talking. And if we connect to our breath and we learn that it will really serve us well. I mean, the answer is literally right under our nose, like literally, like right under our nose, and we're missing it because it's there, but it's so elusive that we just figure, I mean, think about it this way. How many times you heard someone like, "Ooh, I wonder what I'm going to eat later." You're planning it in your head. I'm going to have this giant smoothie, and there's durian later. The fruit festival got it, yes, and you're excited. When's the last time someone ever said to themselves, "Well, I wonder how I'm going to breathe later. I wonder if I'm going to breathe consciously later. Will I stay connected to my breath later?" So we obsess about food and drink and other things, exercise and other things, but not about like our breath, which when you think about it, you can go days and weeks without food and water, but only minutes without air. So of the three, what's the most important? It's the air, right? It's the breath. And if you don't have that, you die. You don't, when people say, where's the science? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, just go ahead and choke off your air supply and show you the science. I mean, you'll find it real quick. It's called biology and chemistry and anatomy. I mean, but there's plenty of research out there to say how important breathing is and all the wonderful things it can do on so many levels. But we're endowed with this, and that was the thing. It's like the breath of life, right in the scriptures, even said, "And the dust of the earth was picked up, and the breath of life was breathed into our nostrils, and we became a living soul." So, in the East, it's very cultivated and revered. In the West, not so much. But I think it was, and we forgot about it. So when you look at the word even respirate, is to reconnect with spirit or spirit. Spirita is a derivation of chi, ki, prana, pneuma, all this energy for the divine energy. And spirita is the same thing. So to respirate is to reconnect with spirit over and over and over, or you don't because you're disconnected. So it's yeah. And when we're inspired, we inspirate, we're bringing spirit in, right? We expire, we let go of it. So it's a constant cycle of creation and destruction. And again, the ancients talk about this cycle. In many cultures, Shiva Shakti, it depends on how many, what you study and what you've come across. But true is true. And when it's an absolute truth, that's why you see it show up in so many ways. So that's one way. The other way is just becoming aware of being a breather that is just kind of slow and calm. Yeah, there's a lot of breathing techniques out there, gotten popular, things like Wim Hof and circular breathing and all this. And I don't knock any of them. They all have a purpose. It's a matter of when someone says, well, Dr. Sam, what's the best way to breathe? The answer is it depends. What are you trying to achieve? So for the question you asked, how can people just become a better breather at rest? That's where it comes down to principles. And I'm a huge fan of principles for many reasons, because principles last the test of time. But principles will be simply this: nasal, horizontal, abdominal. So again, nasal, horizontal, abdominal. So you want to breathe through your nose versus your mouth. Okay, you want to breathe horizontally, which means outward, expansive, as opposed to vertically upward, which is how most people breathe. And you want to breathe abdominally versus with your shoulders and chest. If people could just master those things, and my little rhyme in my one book was breathe low, slow through your nose with your lips closed. Again, breathe low, slow through your nose with your lips closed. So same thing, nasal, horizontal, abdominal. If you do that, you learn to breathe in your lower parts of your body. And breathing really is a full body phenomenon. We'll get into that into the festival. But it really truly is, you don't really just breathe with your belly, you breathe with your body. It's just when you have an intention to breathe a certain way, your whole body really should expand and contract. You should literally feel everything widen and narrow. It's interesting because in the Qigong literature, it says the true man breathes through his heels. So they literally knew that like the breath, like literally you breathe through your whole body. You can even pull the energy from the earth, through your whole body as you're breathing, and your whole body is actually pulsing. And
Wow.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Um, incredible, incredible. We're talking with Dr. Sam, physical therapist, natural health, nutrition expert, Renaissance man. You can find a lot of his work at drsampt.com. You can hear Dr. Sam speak at Texas Fruit Festival. Um, there's a few other things I want to ask about before we close here, Dr. Sam. I don't want to forget to ask you about something that you talk about, which is, in my view, where a lot of people struggle. A lot of people will trip and stumble and fall, and it's taking control of your mind and emotions. If I'm paraphrasing that correctly, but you talk about this concept. But can you talk to us about your experience helping people to take control of their emotions and their mind on this journey?
Yeah, I mean, your mental emotional diet again is going to be as important as your physical spiritual one. So first thing I'd say is be careful what you feed your mind. Like, back to technology, people, oh, social media is bad, oh, social media is good. Again, it depends. It's like, what do you want to fill your day up with? You could go on social media and get a whole free education. You could connect with people. You could be looking at things that totally lift you up. So how could that be a bad thing? It probably isn't. But if you're on there just surfing aimlessly, the death scroll, especially like late at night, you're doomed to just
Hmm.
you know program yourself to probably end up being sad or depressed because you're looking at everything else, what everyone else is doing, what everyone else has. You start comparing yourself, and then you feel like this big, and you just feel like nothing. And so, like, don't do that. Part of it is it is about conscious choice, but that goes back to even what we're talking about before with why would you want to feed yourself healthy? So you make the right choices. If you're not feeding your body physically healthy, your mind's never going to work healthy. So then how can you make healthy choices? You probably won't. So it's all connected to itself. You have to feed your mind healthy things. Whether it's books or audio or visual videos or pictures or even being spending time in nature. That's why I wanted to stand outside and do this today. I got the technology out on my deck so that I can be in nature while we're doing this because it's an easier conversation to have.
Hmm.
Everything's flowing. But if I was inside, I probably would be struggling a bit more of finding my words or knowing what to say. Uh, and the mind and body are connected. So you have these tools, like some of the tools are just opening up again the body's temple. I have a couple of videos on YouTube talking about that, like which points are connected to which emotions, like whether you could use, let's say, one down in your lower ankle, which is called K3, which is a kidney point on that acupuncture channel that is linked to fear, or using the heart 7 point to deal with emotional stuff that's heartfelt or lower anxiety or angst, those kind of things. So there are different points in the body even that you can touch that can create a shift in people's mind state and emotional state. The breath in of itself, I think, is one of the most wonderful tools to learn how to control your emotions. People think like, oh, well, then you're not dealing with your emotions. No, it's actually the opposite. Because what most people do is this: they shut their emotions out. So here's the key to that. Because if I say to someone, well, if you use your mind to try to control your mind, how's that working out for you? Like most people, it doesn't. They just loop. They're just running that loop, and they drive themselves crazy, like day in and day out, and they can't get out of it. But if you bring it back and do a bottom up approach and use the breath, here's how it would work. If I ask someone, how are you feeling right now? They'd say, well, I'm angry. And I'd say, well, no, that's not a feeling. Of course, that's going to piss them off more because they think that I'm discrediting how they feel, their emotion. I said, well, no, that's not a feeling. That's an emotion. Okay, but that's a good start. Okay, you're angry. What do you feel? Well, I don't know. Yes, you do. Sure, you do. Close your eyes right now for me, and now I want you to go within. Tell me where you feel this. Where do you feel this anger?
Hmm.
And like, just focus. Just allow it to be there. And like, okay, fine, Dr. Sam, it's in the pit of my stomach. Okay, great. That's where it is. What does it feel like? They go, what do you mean? I said, just pay attention. It's anger, but what does that feel like to you? And they go, it's tight. It's like this, it's just so tight. I said, okay, that's the feeling. Okay, that is what you have to deal with right now. The emotion is anger, but the feeling is that tightness. So what you do at that point is you bring the awareness of your breath through that part of your body, Okay, and you breathe through it. You
Hmm.
just breathe the opposite into that. You breathe looseness or relaxation or light or however you want to say. Whatever makes sense to your brain, that's the opposite of tight, is what you breathe into that space. And it's amazing how fast this shift can occur for people. I've done this with
Wow.
so many patients that are like, dude, you've done more for me in 2 sessions than like 6 years of psychotherapy. You know, and it's not that counseling doesn't work, because it does, but that's a top down approach, and it only
Right.
works so well. The bottom up approach only works so well, and maybe a combination of both is the best for people. But a lot of times I find the breath is just again another tool that can just shift people's emotions because they can finally get in touch with their body, and now they're truly have what you call like somatic intelligence. The body starts waking up, and they're not only a body, they're embodied, right? They're embodying what they feel and what they the consciousness that they're carrying with them at that time. And
Hmm.
so that's really the only way to change it, because a lot of things people just operate on this subconscious loop, and they're just like a triggered and very habitual, and that has a purpose to a point. But if you're not even aware of what you're carrying with you, how can you deal with it?
Wow. So listen to what Dr. Sam is saying. You are more powerful than your emotions. You can take control over your emotions. Not 100% of the time, right? We're still going to go through these waves and these flows that happen, but you can control your own experience, and there's tools and techniques for this. Um, Dr. Sam, is this the area where you see, because you've literally worked with thousands of patients and clients, and you've seen so many people go through this journey. Is the emotional struggle, is that where people struggle the most, or where do you see people, do you see a pattern of where people struggle the most to, accomplish their health goals and you know
I think it's a big piece. Yeah, I mean that said, I think the biopsychosocial piece of health, which is again community and socialization and connection, is probably one of the most underrated and underappreciated. So, an emotional health ties right into this. Like, if you have no passion or purpose, what is the point of being alive? Right? I agree with you. What's the point? Why are we all here? You know. On that note, my what I would say is this: like, our the meaning of life is to figure out what your unique, true gift and talent is to share with the world. And then the purpose of life is then to go out and do that. So I'll say that again. The meaning of life is to figure out what your true, unique talent and gift is. You may have more than one, but then the purpose of life is to go out and then do that.
Hmm.
But that's part of this journey is like when people wake up, they find all these talents they never even knew they had. They can sing, they can write, they can do this, they can do that. It's an amazing thing. But yeah, I think the emotional piece is huge. Um, if you look at the core issue that a lot of that even the psych field talks about, someone like a Marissa Peer who's out there doing wonderful things in the world, she talks about this core issue. You're not enough. Like most people don't think they're enough, and she started
Okay.
that
like a
trend.
like a feeling of inadequacy.
Yeah, and part of that is because somewhere along the line
Parents.
it got in there. Yeah, it could be a well-meaning parent, but still something was said that was a little like, you sure you want to say that? A coach, an ex-girlfriend, boyfriend, somebody got in your head and you believed it for some reason. And that's why it's so important to have, tools and drills to literally strip down our emotional body and our physical body and deal with these things. Like I encourage people to feel their feelings. I don't want you to run from it. I want you to feel it. I want you to feel it because that's how you move through it. And what people happen, it's like any other thing. When you practice these skills and you practice like having a healthier emotional diet, yeah, it does get easier. And yes, you're gonna get pissed off. That's okay. Like Zen people aren't always happy and like, oh, everything's great. Everything's not always great. It's just not. And that's okay. And it's okay to get worked up sometimes. But how fast can you recover is really the key. It's really about resilience. It's like, hey, I might get over here, but then all of a sudden I'm just back. I'm Zen again. And if I lose it now and then, I laugh. I do laugh at myself. Like, all right, man, you done? You done having your little fit? Are we good now? Can we move on with our day? I just start laughing at myself. Like, yeah, that was a good one, huh? It just really like snapped. And but I've learned that like, yeah, I know there's progress because like where I might feel those emotions don't it's not there anymore. I used to get this like if I got really pissed off, literally feel it run like over my head, down the side of my into my groin and get lodged there. And then literally you go, oh, what a pain in the you know what, and it's like, yeah, there's a reason that expression exists. Like, it's like, wow, that's very real. That became very real to me. Like, whoa, dude, you need to put a check on this because if you're harboring that kind of stuff, you're just beating up yourself. And when we learn to really feel our emotions, we can we can really then transmute and transform them. But it's not about not feeling them at all. It's about feeling them. That's why I think the breath is one of the tools that allows people to finally do that. That's why people cry a lot during breathwork sessions, or they start laughing, and they're like, "Oh my God, this weight's lifted off my chest for the first time. I can actually feel my body. I'm not numb."
Hmm. Wow. Wow. We're talking with Dr. Sam Mielcarski. What in closing, Dr. Sam, I want to ask you. We're very excited to have Dr. Sam come speak at Texas Fruit Festival. If you don't know Dr. Sam, this is a person with a ton of resources. He made a deal with God or with the universe or whatever you want to call it, right? That if he could be healed and transformed, that he would pay it forward and help others, and he's making good on that deal. And there's a lot of resources that you can go and find. He has a free ebook. He has a free master course, drsampt.com. You can hear him speak at events like Texas Fruit Festival. As we as we close out here, Dr. Sam, I want to hear from you about this time that we're in. We're in this. It reminds me of the old Chinese proverb. May you live in interesting times. But we are certainly in interesting times. We're not in Kansas anymore. Um, and how would you describe the time that we're in? Where do you see things going? In the world, and as we stand at this pivotal place.
Yeah, yeah. I tried click my heels a few times, didn't teleport me, but maybe the breath will. Yeah, we're in really interesting times, and I think one of the biggest skill sets that people are going to need to be able to survive and stay sane is discernment. Again, discernment, and I don't think, as we spoke about before, I don't think it's going to come in the middle of chaos. You could get an insight in the middle of chaos, but to have true discernment, you're going to have to learn how to balance all this chaos and all this stuff with being very still and being very quiet and being very actually disconnected, so that you can actually be truly connected to source. Because discernment is going to be the thing that determines who makes it and who doesn't. We are in very interesting times, and I think evolution is just this amazing thing. But we're going through a time now where, yeah, it's truly do or die. And if you haven't done the work, so to speak, the inner work especially, it's going to be a struggle, I think, for a lot of people. So I think people had a great opportunity during COVID when that first started, just because there was some few years there of craziness, and some people did the work, and those people are doing much better right now. But I look at the people who had the opportunity just because of all the time off during that time and didn't do it, chose to sit there and just burn out their eyeballs with useless things on Netflix and other venues. And it's not to say they couldn't have been watching something educational, they just weren't. So they were just, again, trying to cope. And fair enough, everyone copes differently, but they had all this valuable time to go, what can I learn from this? How can I move to the next level? And they chose not to. So now what's coming next is going to be, I think, even a hyper version of that, in terms of like having to jump quantumly to the next level. And yeah, I think that people better start taking it seriously.
Okay, and how can someone improve their discernment, or say, okay, if discernment is the key, right? Just figuring out what the truth is so I can navigate this planet as it gets crazier and crazier. How can I get better at that?
Yeah, definitely. Just the basic first step is get yourself healthier. You got to be healthy. As we talked about before, if you view the body as an antenna, and you're right. So if you're trying to receive a signal, you're saying, all right, source, show me whatever, and here's the signal, and you're the antenna. As I said before, you can't have static in the airways. So if you want discernment and you want to know what is true or true for you, or where you need to be, you have to be a clear, conscious, connected channel. And the only way to be that is to be healthy. You can't, if you're not healthy, you can't read. You can't read the signals right. The scrambles get. It's just like the radio station, like back in the day, and you're trying to tune in. Well, it's much easier to tune in when you're clear, and it's much easier to be clear when you're healthy. Get yourself healthy, and that's where events like Texas Fruit Festival and things that are being done online. Join these communities, get yourself healthier. If you're truly struggling, come. Do not be intimidated to come because you think you're not good enough. Just get yourself there, get yourself connected to people in your local community, and get healthier. We're going to be a product of a couple different things. Our This is what I call the B formula. I was going to talk about this in Texas, but it's worth hearing more than once. So it's real simple. There's only two letters. I like to make acronyms and mnemonics that people that know me well. Yeah, I rhyme a lot and all that stuff. But B is literally BE. So what do you want to be in the world? Who do you want to be in the world? The B stands for behavior. Our behavior is going to be the choices we make and the actions we take each day. Okay. And then the E in the equation of BE is your environment. We're going to
Hmm.
be a product of our environment, both inside and out. So how you be in the world is going to be a product of those two things, your choices and actions, right? And your environment. If you optimize those two things, your the B and the E, then it's a lot easier to be healthier.
Hmm.
That's the key. We're all going to be a product of those things. So that's where choice comes in. I can choose who I want to hang out with. I can choose what I eat. I can choose my environment. And I understand some people's circumstances are tougher than others. You still can always choose within that circumstance, though. It's like I could choose to walk away right now and not have the argument, or I could choose to go sit in the sun right now because it looks like, based on the forecast, the sun's going away in about an hour or two. And like if I choose to not do it now, I'm going to miss that opportunity later. It's a choice.
Hmm.
And some lessons are tough. We have to get knocked over the head with them a few times. You go, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do that again. That's not serving me too well. But choose wisely. Choose.
Wow, wow. And just to add to that, I will recommend learning from mentorships and from, other people's information, people like Dr. Sam. Try to minimize the amount that you're learning from experience where you're just getting punched in the face and you're having these failures and these losses and you're learning the hard way and learn the stuff from people who have already been there and done it and paved the way. And so Dr. Sam is a great example of that. Um, you've published two books, so you can find Dr. Sam's books. Um, go check it out at drsampt.com. Make sure you follow Dr. Sam on Instagram at drsampt3. That's the number three. And then come meet Dr. Sam at Texas Fruit Festival. So my final question for Dr. Sam is we're preparing to have Dr. Sam as a special guest at Texas Fruit Festival, September 26th through the 28th in Austin, Texas. Um, you've done a lot of these. You've spoken at a lot of events. You've spoken at basically every Woodstock festival. You've spoken down at the Farm of Life in Costa Rica. You've been a part of a lot of events, and you're actually, a professional public speaker. And but just talking about these events, right? I can try to produce a great event in Austin. I can try to choose a great venue, have great fruit, have great speakers. I can make a great price point, $49, for 3 days. We can do all these things, right? And I can try to convince someone to say, hey, you should come be a part of this. But ultimately, you know, it's up to an individual to decide, hey, I want to go and be a part of something. So whether or not, why should someone go to Texas Fruit Festival? Or maybe it doesn't have to be our festival. Why should they go to another event, whether it's, a Woodstock or this other event that's in Michigan, the vegan wellness retreat, or some other event, wherever it is? Why should someone choose to go and be a part of one of these events? Because you've been to many of them, Dr. Sam Mielcarski.
Yeah, a couple of things come to mind. One, you get the group effect of being at an event like this. And when you look at how energy works, it works very often with resonance. The resonance is something when there's interphase locking. And so you're on the same vibe or the same wavelength. Even our language reflects that term. So when you're in this environment with a few hundred people, and everyone's resonating at this high vibe tribe, it's as though you learn through osmosis for sure. You just again, as we talked about the brain being a downloader, you just download things that just rapidly, and the changes are almost quantum, like they're almost instant. So that's one reason you can leverage the group effect in your favor, and that's why wanted to come to Texas. Like, yeah, it'd be fun to reconnect again with a few hundred people, and some other events I couldn't attend due to my schedule, and hope to in the future. But the the group effect is just unreal at an
Hmm.
event like this in terms of making massive change rapidly, but still in a gentle way. It's going to be how you want it to be because again, however you resonate at the festival is who you're going to attract at the festival. So if you're like, well, I'm just not ready for that, it's like, don't worry about it. You will attract who you need to get what you need to get. That's how it always seems to work at these festivals. The other thing I could say to people is if you're going to go to Texas Fruit Fest or another festival, don't don't attend the festival. Show up. There's a difference. Like
Well, what's the difference?
you can go and attend something, and that just means you're there almost as like a passive recipient. Like, okay, I'm taking notes, and okay, I went to this lecture. Showing up is about what you're going to bring to the festival, and like your intentions and how you're going to help be a part of this web and change the people around you. So when you show up, this is a chance to practice. Like, here's a chance for you to go be with a couple hundred people and show up differently, especially if no one knows you really yet. You're like, hey, look, I'm trying to change my life. I'm trying to be different. And I want to show up different in the world. Here's the perfect platform to launch that on and run the experiment. Because it's like if you never saw those people again, no loss, right? But if you show up and want to be this different person, and here's a chance to launch this new version of yourself, 2.0, 3.0, whatever, and like see how it goes. And you just see how welcoming it is, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I this really is for me. I like this tribe, and I think I want to continue this journey. It's a lot of fun. So don't just attend, show up. Please show up, because that's what makes all the events magical. Is that people showing up, not just attending.
Wow. Wow. I'm so grateful that Dr. Sam is going to be a part of this, and I'm going to throw in one last bonus question. So absolute last question to Dr. Sam Mielcarski, to the listener, to someone out there who's struggling, right? They've already started to discern the truth. They've already had this awakening, right? But they're struggling to actually implement it and to actually go through with these changes. What's your advice to the person out there that's going through this? What would you say to them?
I would say just take the thing that you're willing to address the most. Like let's say you have several things that you know you need to do to start to move in one direction. Which one? Like make a small list of those if there's a small list, and take the one that excites you the most. Like the one that you're willing to take actual action on, whether it's to start to exercise more, or eat a little bit better, or connect with a couple people a day. Whatever one that when you read, you go, yeah, okay, I'm willing to do that. Just start there.
Hmm.
Okay. And don't worry about the rest of them. It's like all you need to know is what's, is what you need to know. It's what's in front of you. Start with that one basic thing, the one that you're willing to address. And then you'll find that once you build momentum is very contagious. It's a good type of contagion where, wow, I did that and it felt good. And like, well, what else can I do? And you start to get this hunger for the rest of it. Because it can be a lot, right? If there's a lot on your plate, you'd be like, oh, I can't finish all that. You would start with the first bite. So if there's like a lot on your plate, spiritually, emotionally, right? Well, just take the first bite off. Just take the thing that like, yeah, that looks the most appealing to me. I think I'll take a bite out of that first. And then once you get a taste of that, the momentum that can build is just unbelievable. And celebrate like, yeah, I did it. I did it. It's a good thing to congratulate yourself and just keep hammering on it. Like how you get good at anything, you practice. I think so many people are not tuned in because they practice tuning out all the time. They're always tuned out. It's like the only way to get tuned in is to practice tuning in. The only way to get healthier is to practice getting healthier. Health comes from healthy living. So there's only one way to do it. And when people say, well, Dr. Sim, hard habits are hard to break. Bad habits are hard to break. That's what they'll say to me. I said, no, all habits are hard to break. Not just bad habits, all habits.
Right.
All you have to do is supplant your bad habits with some better ones. And now you're gold. At that point, it's a slam dunk because you start running on autopilot where these habits, you just do them without even having to think about it. And that's when it gets a lot smoother and easier. And then you can start to make progress and jumps quicker because you've already locked in those base things you need to do.
Wow, I've never heard that exact tactic, and that's a brilliant another lump of gold from Dr. Sam Mielcarski, drsampt.com. Follow him at drsampt, the number 3, on Instagram. And we will see you, Dr. Sam Mielcarski, in Austin, Texas, at Texas Fruit Festival, texasfruitfestival.com. Thank you so much.
For sure, brother. Anytime. I'm looking forward to it.
For more information, please follow at Rapid Regeneration or visit rapidregeneration.com.